Приветствую вас, братья и сестры. Сегодня я буду говорить на английском, но в конце я постараюсь перевести главный смысл. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope that today was a good day. I know for some it was. For some it might have been a bit of a trying day maybe a rough start to the year, maybe a difficult month or a bit of a difficult week. Maybe some will say that it's more than I can handle. There's a common phrase that I hear people say, and I see it all over social media. It's the phrase that God will never give you more than you can handle. And today, this is the phrase, the quote that I would like to discuss a bit. There are two passages that I would like to compare today based on this theme, that God will never give us more than we can handle. The first passage being 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. This is a very common passage, and a lot of people like to use it as their quotes on Instagram and all over social media. And this passage is also very commonly misinterpreted and misunderstood. When we read this passage, it says this: "No temptation has overtaken you but such as is common to man. And God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able. But with temptation will provide the way of escape also, so that you will be able to endure it." The common word that a lot of people tend to skip over in this passage, or maybe just use it interchangeably or use a synonym, or think that other words like trial and burdens is a synonym to the word temptation. Or some just skip over it and focus on the part of He'll never give us more than we're able to handle. When we swap those words, we get that phrase. We get the phrase, God will never give you more than you can handle. Again, everybody's familiar with this verse, and I've seen it a lot, especially on Instagram and Facebook. People use it as a quote. Some devotions have it as well. But this is, again, one of the most misunderstood and misinterpreted verses. I see a lot of people that will tell others that God will never give you more than you can handle. And that's true in regards to temptation, as we read here, but it's not necessarily true in other areas of our life. In burdens, afflictions, and trials, and anything alike, when people say that God will never give you more than you can handle, they aren't usually referring to temptation. They're usually referring to a sorrow or a hardship that has come your way. This speaks of a time, this specific passage speaks of a time when you'll be tempted, but God is faithful and He'll give you a way to escape. However, this is a good topic of discussion. The main focus will not be on this. It will be on the next passage, the one I wanted to compare. And the one I wanted to compare to was 2 Corinthians, starting from chapter 1, verse 8. Paul is just introducing this letter to the Corinthians. This is a second letter, and he's letting the Corinthians know what has happened so far. He's kind of informing them, saying, "For we do not want you to be unaware, brethren, of our affliction which has come to us in Asia." Something that came to them, a trial, an affliction. And going on, it says that we were burdened excessively, beyond our strength, so that we despaired even of life. And I want to stop here for now. The key phrase in this passage is beyond our strength. Paul doesn't go into specifics of what kind of afflictions came to them. He talks about himself and the team and what they encountered, and the fact that it was beyond what they were able to bear. It was beyond their strength. If you compare these two passages, Paul would seem to contradict himself if we base it on the phrase, God will never give you more than you can handle. Because first he starts off in 1 Corinthians and he tells them that you won't be given a burden more than what you're able to handle. But then he says that they were afflicted beyond their strength. But in fact, he doesn't contradict himself. Because the key difference in these two passages is temptation and affliction. Some people only pay attention to beyond what you are able and skip over everything else. They'll read that you'll be able to endure it, but don't read what you'll be able to endure. Or they think that the word trial and temptation, or hardship and temptation, can be interchanged or they're synonyms. This specific passage speaks of temptation. It says you will not be tempted beyond what you can bear. Not burdened or afflicted, but tempted. Again, the focus will be on 2 Corinthians, starting from 1:8, afflictions and burdens. Now, these could be interchanged with hardships and trials and anything alike. So how do we read and understand this passage? We understand this, that there will be situations in life that we cannot handle. There will be things in our lives we have no control over. Our personal strength, our mental and our emotional strength will not measure up to the things that come at us in life. And reading on from 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 9, he says, indeed, we had the sentence of death within ourselves. In other words, they thought they were going to die. That's it for them. They already considered themselves as dead men. This usually happens when you see no way out, when there's something you cannot handle, when there's something beyond your strength, beyond what you can bear. And this will be the truth, and this is the truth, that there will be things in life beyond what you are able to bear. And all this for what? Why will we be put in situations like this? We tend to ask the question, you are able to bear. And all this for what? Why will we be put in situations like this? We tend to ask the question, why? Constantly, we endure sleepless nights, try to understand and figure out why we're in a situation that we are in today. Here, as we read on, Paul gives us an answer to our why. 2 Corinthians 9, as we read on, it says this, indeed, we had the sentence of death within ourselves, so that we would not trust in ourselves, but in God, who raises the dead, who delivered us from so great a peril of death, and will deliver us, he on whom we set our hope on, and he will yet deliver us. There's our answer. There will be things in life we cannot handle and are unable to bear, but this is all going to be for the glory of God. This is all for us to learn to trust in God. Paul has sentenced himself to death. He saw no way out of a situation. He thought they were done for. Then God came in, and he raised them from the dead, meaning he got them out of that situation. He got them past it. God renewed the hope in him. He renewed the hope in Paul back to him. But we don't always like that. We like to believe and we like to think that we've got it all figured out, that we can handle anything that comes our way. We like to believe that we've been through so much and we've learned so much that we can handle almost anything. That we're strong and that we're the ones who can bear anything that comes our way. Those who think that God will never give them more than what they can handle are usually disappointed when he does. When the hardships of life come, the things that they cannot handle, we tend to look up. We tend to look up to God and begin to question him. Saying things like, I thought you'd never put me through things I can't handle, not realizing that he's never actually said that. We tend to get mad at God sometimes, asking why? Why did you put us through this? then spiral down and grow cold towards God. The statement, God will never give you more than you can handle, contradicts what we see in 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 8 through 10. The main flaw in that statement is the word you. Because God wants us to trust in Him and not in you. He wants us to learn to run to Him, to seek for Him, to be zealous for Him. We tend to point to ourselves all the time. We tend to say, look at me, I'm strong enough to go through this. We tend to think that. And when God does help us through a situation, sometimes we come out saying, I'm glad I made it through. I'm glad I was strong enough to get through this. The glory of God in our tough situations is that sometimes we might sentence ourselves to death, thinking there's no way out, not seeing a way out, just as Paul did and his team. Yet God raises the dead. He brings you out of a situation that seems impossible. And all the praise and all the glory should be directed towards Him, not us. This is for His glory. We tire ourselves out thinking, we've got this. We can handle it. But John 16:33 says this. Jesus says this, these things I've spoken to you, so that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulations. But take courage, I have overcome the world. Jesus directs our hope on Him, to Him. Jesus tells us that I have overcome the world, not you will or you have, but I have done it. He has done it. Some might be thinking, well, don't degrade me like that because I'm strong enough to get through things. This is not my attempt. My attempt is to direct the hope on Jesus. Our attention on Him, the one who has overcome the world. In times like these, we have to learn to rely on God and set our hope on Jesus, to trust in Him. And in conclusion, I wanted to say this about this statement, that God will never give us more than we can handle. And the truth is, it's not in that statement. The truth is in John 16:33, in 2 Corinthians, and all other situations that we see throughout the Bible that are impossible, beyond our strength, beyond our control, and then God comes in and sweeps everybody off their feet in a miraculous and amazing way. The challenge before us is not the situation at hand or the trial at hand or the hardships before us. Our challenge is to get over ourselves and trust in Jesus. Again, our main challenge is not the troubles ahead of us. Our main challenge is to get over ourselves and trust in Jesus. Братья и сестры, первое послание к Коринфянам, 10 глава, 13 стих, пишет об искушении. Но иногда люди думают, что это, когда мы читаем, что это не только об искушении, но о трудностях тоже. И мы иногда в этом запутываемся. Когда мы думаем, что у нас не будут трудностей больше, чем мы можем преодолеть. Но иногда бывает, как мы видим в второе послание к Коринфянам, 1 глава, 8 по 10 стих. Мы видим, как апостол Павел пишет, что у них были трудности. трудностей, которые они сами не могли преодолеть. И это все для славы Бога, чтобы мы научились уповать на Господа. Слава Богу. Давайте встанем и помолимся Ему.